Hey, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Coffee Shop Chatter. I'm Mr. Controversy. So, before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and make sure you hit the like button just to get the content into the algorithm. And of course, as always, comment at the end. So, today, actually, a couple days ago, we had another soldier that was murdered. This one was at Fort Leonard Wood. First one that I've known about was Vanessa again, and that was right here at which is now called Fort Cavazos, but at that time it was Fort Hood. At that time, I was down at Fort Bliss. So, they had all the investigations. They did this whole big report. They sent it out to all the leadership, pretty much across the army. And it was just so we can have a group discussion of what went wrong, things that we see wrong, and what we think should happen. And this was mainly at my brigade. I was actually at the First Summer Division at this time. So now you have another soldier that was murdered. I don't know why they keep talking about, you know, they using a lot of the words, and I hate to call for what it was. She was murdered, and this happened again on the military installation. So people wonder why, or I've been next. It was a discussion we had when we was in Afghanistan. A bunch of us have daughters, and people asked us like, "Hey, would you let your daughter join the military?" I said, "Hell no." A couple of my other counterparts parts said the same thing. Hell no. When I was enlisted, I was an EO, and I literally put a complaint on my first sergeant for a sexual assault. I ended up leaving. I wound up going back to Iraq. Came back, whole thing, got commissioned, whatever. I'm at Fort Sill. I see him on the front of the paper we had for artillery was called the Cannoneer. Being promoted to be command sergeant major. While I was here at Fort Cavazos, once again, then Hood, back in 2014. You may have known about the big investigation about the Sharp that was recruiting females to be part of his little prostitution ring. And what he was doing, he was getting young females, single mothers who were struggling, and he was recruiting them. He was using another female that he had recruited to recruit others. The then Corps commander didn't. I don't think the justice was done, or which should have been done for those women. He only wanted that NCO to be prosecuted, and I'm gonna tell you why. There were a multitude of senior NCOs, which means sergeant first class and above, and senior officers, meaning major and above, up to the grade of colonel, that was involved in sleeping with these young girls. He was holding these little parties and whatever. That's why I would never. I said I would never, and I told my daughter, you would never, you would not go in the military. You better find something else. Go to college. You got a free ride. I'm paying for it. So now we have another young lady. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that and see what happened.
A murder investigation on a military base. A soldier found dead in a dumpster at Fort Leonard Wood. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Maxwell Kelly Jackson, and already have the night off. Right now, the Army's Criminal Investigation Division, the FBI, and local law enforcement are all looking into this death. Our Megan Kernan traveled to that base today and joins us now in studio with more. Megan?
Well, Mark, we spent the day at Fort Leonard Wood where many are mourning the loss of beloved soldier 23-year-old Sergeant Sarah Roque. We talked to people on post and in the community who were shocked and saddened. The St. Robert area says Sergeant Roque has left a lasting impact.
I mean, a soldier? Come on. Soldiers don't get killed and thrown in a dumpster on post. That's wrong.
Sergeant Sarah Roque was reported missing Monday morning after she failed to report for duty. Later that evening, her body was found in a dumpster near the single soldiers' quarters at Fort Leonard Wood.
It can put some fear into people, like if it happened on base, where else could it happen, you know what I mean?
The news of Roque's death has startled the entire community, including Joe Wilkinson, a retired master sergeant who was stationed at Fort Leonard Wood for 12 years and has lived in the area ever since.
Soldiers do not need to die when they're on their own Army installation.
Jonathan Wallace has lived in St. Robert his whole life and feels Fort Leonard Wood is a safe base. That's why he's in disbelief.
You're on a military base. Everybody's supposed to be family on a military base because this is a small town. This wouldn't be as prosperous without Fort Leonard Wood here. And I just don't understand why something like this would happen.
Roque enlisted in 2020 and completed her basic combat training at Fort Leonard Wood. The Indiana native was a bridge crew member serving as a mine dog handler with the K-9 detachment.
She was a good woman, good soldier.
I wonder what her higher-ups and the people who are under her are thinking right now, especially her family. I feel for them. I'll be praying for them because that's a big loss.
So far, investigators haven't said how she died, who found her body, or who the person in custody is. Officials at Fort Leonard Wood tell me Sergeant Roque's unit is holding a memorial service in her honor next week on post.
A murder investigation on a military base. A soldier found dead in a
So my question is, why are they hiding the identity of that individual? And I guarantee you, it's somebody that knows her. It's someone that she knows. One, you already know, one likely, 99.9%, I'm sure is a soldier, and it's a male. That's it. But why isn't this being reported on the news? Why is it not being talked about? Like I said, I can understand you got the election going on, but stuff like this, hey, people need to know what's going on with the military. I've always been about exposing it. I mean, I've even been to the point where I said I don't even agree where the military should be investigating itself. Especially when you're talking about when you have these, sexual assaults or whatever that goes on and they're being reported, because there's this bias. You have that pressure from up top that's kind of telling you, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but yeah, is always the but. Trying to streamline you to go where they want you to go on your findings. Because you always have to do a 15-6 investigation. And within that investigation, there's always a colonel, a lieutenant colonel or colonel that you have to report to. That you got pinned to do this investigation. And you have to report to them and tell them your findings or where everything go across everything with them. And they would say, okay, I'm good with what you have, or I think there's still more to be found. You need to find, Granted, I've done a couple 15-6 investigations. I've never had, luckily, I ain't had nobody try to do that with me. They were more of, yeah, I like what you have, but I still think there's more. Talk to some more people. And that was just me going interviewing, to get more sworn statements to find out who else had information or what happened based off of whatever I was investigating. But this here, man, I don't know. I have my thoughts of what I think the Army should do. But they're gonna do what they want to do anyway. Like I say take it out of their hands. There should be an independent office on every installation that actually conduct investigations, especially when sexual assaults or whatever. And for the ones that lie, they should be prosecuted because what happens is it causes problems with other ones. I've had one. I was at Fort Sill. Female, she was late for formation, and instead of just taking the hit, she said somebody drugged her, and she was taken advantage of. Good thing one of the young ladies that was at the party with her, because all of them was underage drinking. Good thing the young lady said something. She came forward. She's like, "No, nobody was there. We went to our rooms by ourselves. She was just drunk." But she went straight to the hospital, telling she got raped, and that sends up a red flag real quick because now you have CID getting called. You had the SARCs that gets called, which I was the SARC because for my brigade. So, hey, I was just want to know about what you think about this. What do you think the military needs to do or the government, somewhat that needs to be done to handle these types of situations? I ask, would you want your daughter to even join the military? So that's all I got. As always, see you around.